Hi, everybody. This is Jason.
This is Pete.
And this is the Lost Legions podcast. And what are we here to talk to you today about, Pete?
Top five fast attack choices.
The top 5 fast attack choices. I don't know why that's fast.
I'll try and get a thing across the screen when I edit it.
We're gonna have
5 and stars or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna put in the most trash thing ever now.
Like reading Rainbow, like the stars.
Yeah.
I promise I will never die.
All right. Quick fire.
We are, and if you guys have seen any of our top videos before, we are going to count up to our number 1 fast attack option. And I'm going to start with Pete. And Pete, what is your number 5?
My 5th most favorite fast attack choice in Games of Horus Heresy, specifically to the Legion book, is the Legion Seekers.
Okay. Why is that?
I think they're quite fun.
Okay.
Quite fluffy. They're definitely not the best choice in that option. I think everyone could possibly agree with that. I'd like to know where they come in your top 5 in a moment. I don't know, they're good fun. The precision shots are good. Spoiler alert. The precision shots are fun on the guns. The way they work with the 4+ precision shot with their different round bolters that they've got, all the different execution rounds and that sort of stuff. It's good fun. I like it.
Cool.
They're just add a bit of flavour.
So my top
What's yours?
5, my 5th are the Outriders.
Ooh. And for what reason? Because I think they're better than 5.
Oh, you think they're better than 5?
I think they're better than 5.
I think they're decent. I just don't think they're amazing. I'm thinking you can slap plasma on them. They can come from outflank. Like they're good, but they're not amazing anymore. But they're still like definitely a good fast attack choice.
Okay. Cool.
What?
I'll talk about them in a bit.
All right. Let me talk about Seekers.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, they're not great.
Not on my top 5.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, they're not in your top 5. All right. Number 4, for me, is the humble Xiphon.
Very good choice.
Yeah.
Talk to me about why.
I think it's cheap for what it does. What is it, like 115 points, something along those lines?
Yep.
It's got a lot of las cannons. Is it 2 twin link las cannon shots? 4 twin link las cannon shots? 2 or 4? Can't remember. It's decent though. And it's got a little rotary missile launcher, which is pretty handy at killing Terminators. It's strength 8 AP2. So it's just a good Terminator hunter, to be honest. It's got like 4 or 5, I think 5 strength 8 or higher AP2 shots. Most of them twin linked. So it's great at just zooming in wherever you want. I'm 115 points. I've killed 3 Terminators. I can die now. Yeah. See you later.
I with my Xiphon, I am quite fond of it. I've used it with my Night Lords, and it occupies a weird space because like I don't think that they're amazing, but they're so cheap. So for the points, like they really do work.
Yeah.
And like you said, like it has all the twin link shots, has the 3 rotary missile shots, and it has the 2 las cannon shots that are twin linked. So like everything's hitting, and it can really be surprising.
Yeah.
Definitely good. I definitely rate them. I'll get to them on my list, but they are not my number 4.
As a side note as well, sorry, they're also handy because fast attack choices are probably the most underutilized 4-sorg slot, right?
Yeah.
So there's always space, and if you got a spare 100 points odd, and can't be bothered to take an extra tactical squad, or you've already got those purposes filled, then this is where the money can be spent.
It is the one. There's also the one flyer that Pete and I agree on.
Yeah.
The rest are like,
what's the point?
But for this many shots for that many points, definitely good.
Yeah. Your number 4.
My number 4 is the Proteus Landspeeder.
Ooh.
I think it is cheap. I think you could slap a multi-melta on this flying couch and just like pelt it down the field. And you get 2 or 3 of these guys. They're relatively inexpensive. Kind of depends on your list, but like they, I think, can be pretty effective. You can put grav on them.
Yeah.
They're pretty disposable, but they are toughness 5. Like they do have like a 3-up save. So, they can also be surprisingly plucky to small arms fire. When they die is when someone finally gets annoyed with you and shoots their heavy weapons at them.
Yeah.
But the thing is they can like zip up and detonate predators. They can zip up and kill something. They can put a lot of hurt on a dreadnought and kind of dance around out of it, especially if you have multiple ones. And like you said, nobody uses the fast attack slot. So you have 3 single fast attack slots, right?
Yeah.
You can be super annoying and have 3 of these like these flying couch land speeders, and they have to kill them one at a time or target them. So I mean, you can use that like nobody uses the fast attack slot thing to your advantage.
Yeah.
So I rate these little land speeders. I think that they are good for what they do. They're good for their points. The only problem I have with them is the model is $1 million for how many points it is.
I think that's the case with nearly all
of the
fast attack choices. Yeah. I think that's another big reason. Yeah, I think you're right. For the points, they are so tempting to chuck in. What is it? 40 points base, like 65 with a multi-melter, I think, or something like that. Like, it's nothing. I mean,
it's
T5 free wins.
I think again, like it goes back to the Xiphon thing. Like you have 100 something points in your list, and you don't know what to do with. You can't take a full squad. Maybe this is a good way to deal with some anti-tank, throw some outflank. They're just a good option, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you? What is your number 3?
So my number 3 is the Outrider Squad, which was your number 5.
Tell me more. Why is this your number 3?
They're awesome. They're so good. The amount of twin linked, so they can take twin link multi-mounts, and that is why they are a twin link multi-mounts. They can take twin linked melters. Sorry, that's why they are awesome, because they have scout, so they can scout 14, then move 14, and then melter.
Yeah.
So it's a number of things they can do, right? They can pop a Spartan probably quite early on, provided the Spartan doesn't movement react out the way. They can, if another unit takes out said Spartan, they can then, melt the occupants with twin link shots. I think they're a good, fast, hard hitting suicide squad, really. Even just
I think a lot of fast attack.
It is in it. It is all just like suicide squads, yeah. But I think they're fun. I think that scout, you can travel 28 inches before you're firing your gun, which is insane. You're in the enemy's deployment zone before a shot's fired is bonkers, really. And then you're something that has to be dealt with, which allows you the rest of your army to move up and do whatever else it needs to do.
I think you've more eloquently put my feelings on in words about how I feel about the Outriders. I was like, I like them. I think they're useful. I never have used them because, again, we run into the same problem with the Proteus, where like they're $1 million points for what they do, or $1 million.
Can you even buy them anymore? You must be able to.
I don't even know. I haven't even seen any.
That's the other thing, is the models aren't that nice, right? It's the old bike with the add-on kit. They look okay. I don't think they look anything amazing.
I like the Tron bike, the round bike.
Okay. I'm just not a huge fan.
That's fine. I think they're a little Marmite, right? Like I think you either like them or you don't like them. But I've never been super enamored for the cost of the kit, or like the problem is that I like jet bikes much more.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, it's hard to stretch myself to want to take the Outriders.
Yeah.
But even though I like their rules, I think their rules are very good.
Yeah.
Anything more about the Outriders, or should we jump to my number 3?
Your number 3, send it.
So my number 3 is, and I bet you this is going to be contentious, the Saber tank.
What?
I think the
Why?
saber. I know you hate it. Pete
I
has
actually
a
have
couple
two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a couple of neutron sabers, and I think neutron sabers are a trap. I think neutron sabers are like the Sikaran Venator or whatever that one is, where you just fire it and it misses and it does nothing. But the ones that I really, really rate are the autocannon sabers. I think that
Yeah, they are
they have
cool, aren't they?
thunder, they're rending 5 up, and I think they're just gonna drive around and they're relatively inexpensive. You could put a Volkite on them, which will also match if you want to start firing against troops with them or light vehicles. So it's less of a disconnect
Dreadnoughts with the
on
rending
what you're
5 up,
firing.
right? It's not bad.
Exactly. So you can fire into dreadnoughts with them. You fire light vehicles at them. You can possibly do some work on some land raiders. What are they like 7? So 13 and rending. Yeah. So you can get land raiders on the side. You have a chance of a Spartan in the front, I think. So it's
Yeah.
13. I mean, it's an outside chance, but it's there. But Sunder really helps.
Yeah.
So I actually think that these guys are great fast attack choices if you want something to zip around that's not going to be high priority for your opponent to kill, and that's just going to start doing damage every turn to your opponent. And I think by the time they realize, I should kill those guys, they've already done a lot of their damage. So yeah, I rate the autocannon saber tanks.
Cool. Well, they didn't make my list whatsoever, and I got some. So
neither
yeah.
did mine.
So, yeah.
Neither did my seekers. I have some, so they can.
Fair enough. My number 2, for pretty much all the reasons you mentioned, is the Proteus Landspeeder. So
Okay.
I think it's similar to the Outrider squad. However, it's more maneuverable because it's hover. It's more anti-grav. Is that the thing now? It's not. Is that what they're called now?
That was the kids are calling it these days.
Yeah. Don't have wheels. It don't use wheels. So it's more mobile. It's cheaper in points for what it can do if you're building it for like an anti-tank purpose, I think.
Yeah.
And it's more survivable, right? So it's T5, 3 wounds rather than T4, 1 wound.
Flying couch.
There's a flying couch. Yeah, who doesn't want to just end worlds whilst on a sofa? It's how the kids do it these days.
Exactly.
As you said earlier. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with them. I would go Gravs or Multi-Melters, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think those are the choices.
Can you take 10 Gravs overall? I mean, you take a squadron of 5 with 2 Gravs each? Yeah, 10 Gravs.
Yeah.
That is nuking a lot. That's nuking anything, pretty much, isn't it? Yeah. Like deep strike in. Just go Grav.
I mean, I think they kind of get up there in points at that point. I think they get up to like 80 points or something.
Yeah.
Feel free to pin me down in the comments. It might be 70 something, but like they do get expensive, and at that point it's a T5 model, and you're just like, but yes, I think they can put in a lot of work. As we spoke about before, I rate the Proteus Landspeeder a lot. Actually, I think it's a really good model.
So Jay, what's your number 2? What's your penultimate?
Number 2. And this is be no surprise because we talked about it before, and I did talk about how much I liked it, is the Xiphon. For all the reasons Pete said before, I think because it's so cheap, it's 100 something points, 105, 150. I always get it wrong because I always play it with my Night Lords, so I always take night vision, so it's especially good with the Night Lords.
Yeah.
Because you can hover outside of 24 inches, and you're like, reaction fire this, buddy. It's a great model. Just itself, it's really fun to paint. It's beautiful. It has a lot of shots for what it does. I would say the only downsides are basically the flyer rules, because what happens is I'm not on the beginning of the first turn. Every once in a while, I'm not on the next turn. But like, what happens then is like, there's usually one turn I'll have to fly off and fly back on.
Yeah.
So I think it's appropriately costed because you're getting 3 to 4 turns of fire out of this thing, right? Like So it's not there for the entire game, basically shooting, even if it doesn't get shot down.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it is one of the flyers I think that's appropriately costed that I feel is really good and worth picking up and a gorgeous model. So
I
yeah,
think the
I
trap
highly
is to
recommend
try and use it against vehicles, right? I think that's kind of the trap. You want to
Yeah.
use it for nuking elite infantry.
I think it's really good at nuking elite infantry because it can just basically scrub 4 of them off the board if it needs to, 4 or 5 of them off the board. Technically, I guess it gets to 5 because it's 2 last cannon
Depending
shots.
on invulns saves, right? But yeah, it's going to be doubling out and ignoring armor on most Legion infantry.
I mean, but it's also really good at doing something like, and I've done this before, taking out Scorpius and stuff like from the side. So anything that's like a medium vehicle. I think the trap is trying to throw those last cannon shots against a Spartan or something. I think that's more when you're just going to do a couple hull points, and depending on what you need. But I think what Pete had pointed out is that it's really good at doing a lot of damage to elite infantry. So don't be afraid to like throw it at the elite infantry. And also they're going to have terrible return fire on it. So yeah, overall a great vehicle, very well costed and beautiful model. Totally love it. Pete, what is your number 1?
So my number 1, clearly, I don't see why it wouldn't be your number 1 as well, is the Javelin. The Javelin Speeder J. 4 wounds, toughness 6, las cannons, Moe melters, cyclone missile launchers.
Yeah.
Volkites with the new upgraded sprues from Forge World. Well, hey, that dates this podcast.
How many points are you playing for this fucking...
it doesn't matter. It's amazing. 85 points, I think. 90 points, something along those lines.
They're like 100 points.
It's great. It's brilliant. It's so survivable. T6. 4 wounds.
It's just, they just don't seem to put out enough firepower for me. They're really slow and they're heavy, so they can't run. So this is the contentious. Okay. So Pete is right. They're a good unit. You should take them. I own a bunch of them. Fucking lovely model. I just don't rate them. There's no surprise. They're not my number 1. So
not even in your top 5, god damn it.
Yeah, they're not my top 5. So they're in my top 10. So I don't know how many fast attack choices are there? 9?
Yeah.
They're decent, but I really struggle putting them in there. I feel like they cost, for the amount of points that you start spending on them, you could take something more effective is my problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather take my Xiphon. Like that's why I started taking my Xiphon over my Javelin.
The thing is, they are not as killy as anything else we've spoken about.
Yeah.
But they are a ton more survivable than everything else we've spoken about.
Yeah.
So it depends, right? And they got the range as well. So you almost end up using them as mobile gun platforms in your defense line, which, depending on what you want your fast attack to do, you could argue you don't need it to do that. There's nothing more sinister than they movement 14 or something crazy with 48-inch guns. Like, you can just keep switching and, dodging other opponents and baiting out units to move towards you to shoot you, and you just zoom off and shoot them back further away again.
My super cynical take on these is that because missile launchers are no good at dealing with dreadnoughts anymore, why I don't like them.
Yeah.
Because I used to love them when they had the Cyclone missile launchers.
Yeah.
And they couldn't deal with elite infantry at that point either. But they could deal with dreadnoughts. And
fair enough.
I really wish that they could still deal with dreadnoughts, because I think at that point you need to get close enough with your multi-melta on them to do something.
At which point,
I just find that disconnect with the fact that they can't run to get up there. They bug my synergy. I don't know why.
Fair enough. I get it. I do get it.
I don't think Pete's wrong. I think they're good. They're a good unit, and I could see why you like them. And they don't fit my top 5.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
I could see why they fit your top 5.
It's Jay. It's okay to be wrong. You're fine.
Well, speaking of wrong, do you want to hear what my top 1 is? Because it's not on Pete's list.
No, this is hey. But when we reveal Jay's top 1 in just a second, be sure give us a link. Give us some comments of what you prefer, javelin or javelin or whatever Jay's about to release. Because reveal
all right. So my number 1. After I talk so much shit about Pete's number 1, I'm expecting to completely be ripped apart rightly on this one. My number 1 is the Sky Hunter jet bike.
Oh, God. Well, first things first, you can't even get hold of the models.
Yeah, well, I mean,
what? Before I go in, let me tell you why you're wrong. No, tell me why you're right first.
No, you can start with why I'm wrong.
No. Go for it. I feel bad.
Just from so I love jet bikes to begin with, and I really want to do a jet bike army. It's kind of something I'm working towards doing, but I think just from a fast attack standpoint, you can take an entire squad of multi-meltas and just absolutely go rip a dreadnought in half. You can, I mean, they're expensive, and people you have to invest in them. But I think that they are great for that reason. I think that you can just completely destroy vehicles with them. The heavy bolter squads, not as much, I don't think, unless you are kind of doing a jet bike army, and then that's kind of a different story. But I particularly think for this discussion as a fast attack choice, the multi-melta squad is really, really good. Arguably the plasma squad's okay. I think the problem with the plasma squad is you can't run and fire it, and you can't so I mean, because these guys can turbo boost, right?
Yeah.
So they can turbo boost to get Shroud, and then they can
that move their double their movement, or up to double their movement.
I think they just run.
Oh, okay. Right.
And just overall, I really rate the multi-meltas version of them. I think they're really, really good. I think that you're going to have to deal with them. I think anybody who goes, shit, there are a whole bunch of 5 flying multi-meltas coming at me that could just zip into melta range, like I'm gonna have to deal with them.
Yeah.
So you can hide them behind something. Like I think they're just a really good choice. I think they look great, and I think that you could really put a lot of pressure on somebody with the multi-melta version of them.
Yeah. They can deep strike as well, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can there's a number of ways to use them, isn't there? And you can attach characters to them, so you can then buff them as well.
Yes.
Is a fair thing. So you can't do that with land speeders or javelins, right? Because of the harbinger of the Legion rule.
They can put Tech Marine with them, and they can go on 2s.
Yeah.
And they can have night vision.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, there are a bunch of things that you could do with them. They have night vision through the Tech Marine. So, yes. They can also have an apothecary, which is kind of cool.
Benefit from Tank Hunter, from a Siege Breaker. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like reroll failed armor bane shots.
Siegebreaker might not be able to take a jet bike, though. So
I think he can. Sillily enough, I think he can. Yeah.
No. Well, if he can't, well, here you go. So there we go. Like I had said, the Sky Hunter jet bike, particularly the multi-meltas, are good. And also, I have to say the Volkites. I would also give a shout out to the Volkites as well. Might be a little bit more points for what you're doing, but they will call light vehicles and they will destroy infantry. So
why I think you're wrong, or not wrong.
Yes,
why I don't rate them is because they're T4 and save 3+, and that is purely the reason. And one wound, right? They 1 wound or 2 wound?
2 wounds.
2 wounds. Yeah, yeah. They will die to pretty much any. If they're a glorified Tech Marine at this point, really, in terms of their survivability, right? Yeah, that's a potential issue because
I think this is the problem.
The temptation is to bung all the multi-melters on. The cost goes up, and then they're still quite fragile, which is why I prefer land speeders, I think. The Proteus in particular, if you're going down a multi-melter route, because they're just not going to get doubled out by strength 8 or higher.
I feel like you can get so much more fire on a Proteus than you can on a Javelin. And I used to love the Javelins, but I find their loadout so restrictive.
Yeah,
Maybe when the new... aren't they redesigning them to have new side sponsons on them so you can have Volkite?
You can get Volkites, but you don't need more... you just take a Volkite heavy support squad, I guess.
My opinions might change on the Javelin once it can have all
2 Volkites and a heavy bolter.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know if they're going to.
It's a lot of long range shooting, isn't it?
Yeah,
that isn't going to get nuked back. Yeah, that isn't going to get nuked back by something instantly because of its T6 4 wounds.
I want to see the amount of points that costs, but I do take your point about the Sky Hunters though. I think that they are more fragile than they used to be, and I think it is well taken. And I love that you and I both don't have our number ones on our top 5.
I think it shows quite a difference.
I think we both have valid reasons for why we have problems with the Javelin and why we have problems with the Sky Hunter, and I think that's what makes these discussions so interesting. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about the Javelin and the Sky Hunter. Which ones you think are worth it? If you think Javelins are going to be worth it once they get Volkite side sponsons, I think we'd like to know.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, cheers for your continued support, guys. See you in the next one.
Take care, guys.